see you all. Welcome to another one of my YouTube live streams. Today I'm going to be reading Drinking Charcoal and the Window Incident, Chapter 16 of Was I Ever Normal, which should be coming out in bookstores and as an ebook within about a month. I'm just waiting for the publishing company to send me the final set of page proofs, and those should be coming within about a week according to my contact. Once I approve them, it's 2 weeks until publication. Anyway, we last left Cassie after her hospitalization, after her hallucinations told her swallowing all 20 tablets remaining in her Paxil bottle she had spotted in the kitchen counter would be key in finally making her happy. When all that happened is they made her feel sick, she just got scared and told her mom what she had done, and her mom brought her to the ER. This chapter begins after Cassie has been sitting in the pediatric waiting room of the ER, coloring a picture of Elsa from Frozen. I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes and see if some more people come on, because so far I don't see anyone on here, so I just want to give it a minute. If I still don't see anyone, I'm just gonna start reading anyway, but I just want to give it a minute. I don't see anyone coming, so I'm gonna start anyway. Everyone who misses this part can just kind of catch up when they watch it on YouTube. It was almost a full 20 minutes before a different nurse came by and led us down to a bed. I climbed up on the bed and let the nurse take my vital signs again. By then, I was used to hospitals. After the nurse finished taking my vitals, she turned to my mom and asked, "What exactly happened that brought her here to the ER?" My mom looked at me, sighed heavily, and explained. Cassie came downstairs about an hour ago and informed me that she had taken the rest of her bottle of Paxil. I called poison control and they told me to take her here. The nurse turned to me and asked, "How old are you, Cassie?" I showed her my ID bracelet that had been fastened around my wrist by the triage nurse. I was afraid that if I opened my mouth to talk, I would start crying. 11, huh? Asked the nurse. I nodded. What was a nice 11-year-old girl doing taking too many pills? I felt my body freeze up in the same way that I always did when someone asked me if I heard voices. I knew there was no way I could explain that a bunch of whispers no one else could hear had told me to swallow the pills because they would make me happier, and that sometimes my thoughts got all jumbled up inside my head, and the easiest thing to do was to just listen to whatever the most persistent voices were telling me to do. Because I needed to give some sort of reason for swallowing half a bottle of Paxil, I tried to remember the reasons Lauren had given for trying to overdose. Lauren was the girl I'd met in the first hospital I'd been at when I first went to my first psychiatric hospitalization. Lauren had said she just felt so sad. She had said it felt like the sadness were a fog, smothering all the hope and all the pieces of her. She had said she thought the pills would just make her fall asleep forever, so that she never had to deal with any of the hurting again. I felt sad, I told the nurse. I felt so sad that it was like I couldn't breathe, so I wanted to take the pills and fall asleep forever. I felt guilt chewing me up inside for lying to her and to my mom. I had never gotten used to lying, even though I had to do it a lot. The nurse just nodded at me. I guess she didn't know how to respond to a suicidal 11-year-old. She just patted me on the shoulder. Things will start to work out for you eventually. The doctor will be in to see you soon. It was at least another 10 minutes before the doctor came in. He said that I needed an EKG and a blood test, and that I needed to drink a cup of charcoal. I wondered how a person could possibly drink charcoal, but I just told him, okay. I just wanted to be able to take everything back, or at least fix everything as well as I could. The nurse came back in with the EKG machine. I remembered from past hospitalizations that an EKG printed out wavy lines that was supposed to be pictures of my heart rhythm. I lay there silently as the nurse put sticky pads all over my chest, stomach, arms, and legs. After the nurse finished with the EKG machine, a lab technician came in and drew my blood. I didn't even flinch at the prick of the needle. Physical pain wasn't a big deal for me. When they were done sucking out 3 tubes of my blood, they put an IV line in my arm, and then the nurse handed me a cup of thick black charcoal. The charcoal was a really viscous fluid. I didn't want to drink it, but I so badly wanted to fix things, and this seemed like the only way to fix it. I took a tiny sip. It tasted vile. It was sickly sweet, really thick, and really gritty. When I wiped my mouth, the black smeared all over my hand, and it disgusted me that I was putting that stuff into my body. You're gonna need to take bigger sips if you want to finish the whole cup, the nurse told me. You have to drink it all so that the pills you took won't hurt you. You didn't take enough that it would kill you, but it could make you pretty sick anyway. I nodded and choked down another, slightly bigger sip. I gagged and felt my body trying to throw it back up. I swallowed and then tipped my head back and chugged as much as I could. When I finished, the sickly sweet taste was spread all over my mouth, and I was gagging on it. It took me almost an hour to finish the whole cup. When I was finally done, I swore to myself that I would never do something like that again. The charcoal was too vile. I spent a large chunk of the time I was drinking it, vomiting it right back up, and was more nauseous than I ever remember being in my entire life. But the nurse said that was supposed to happen. She also explained to me that I would soon start to have massive, unstoppable diarrhea that would look exactly the same as the charcoal in the cup for the next 36 to 72 hours, and that would be expected. It would be clearing the toxic levels of medicine from my system. A crisis worker came in to evaluate me. By the time she got there, my mom and I had been in the ER for hours and hours, and both of us were just itching to get out of there. The crisis worker explained that she had to evaluate me to see if I needed to be hospitalized on a psychiatric unit. I hadn't even known that was a possibility. My fear was suddenly intensified, but I tried to steady my voice as I spoke with the crisis worker to make her think that I was actually more stable than I felt. She talked to me for a while. Then she talked to my mom by herself. Then she came back and talked to both of us. I think that Cassie can go home tonight, she she told us. But I would recommend keeping a close eye on her and bringing her back to the emergency room or crisis center at the first signs of unsafe behavior. She turned to me. Cassie, your suicide attempt was not life-threatening, but it was still very concerning. I don't know what you are trying to do, but I want you to stop all this behavior. If you continue to engage in self-harming behavior, you are going to end up in the hospital. Do you understand? I nodded at her. I really disliked this woman, with her stern face and threatening words and assumptions that I could just easily act normally. My mom took me home. My parents started to keep all the pills locked up in their room. I tried to control my behavior, but I was still cutting myself when Fellingham or Para demanded that I bleed for them. And I was starting to think that maybe Lauren had the right idea when she tried to kill herself. I started to wonder if maybe things would be better for everyone if I just took a fatal overdose. Sandra had lectured me when we went to family therapy. She had told me that I was jeopardizing my relationship with my family by my behavior. She told me I needed to work harder to control my impulses. Christine and Anne were there for me, though. Several times, I even thought about telling them the complete truth about everything I struggled with. But I was too scared. I had been hiding my secrets for too long to reveal them now. Instead, I played games with them, went for walks, went to the mall, swam in our pool, rode our bikes, taught them math, played with our Build-A-Bears, and chatted about normal everyday stuff. It helped a lot. My parents were great too, most of the time. But sometimes my behavior scared them too badly. And then they would snap at me. The window incident was one of the worst. My mom came into my room and found me cutting. She started to yell at me. Do you realize how many people you're hurting with this behavior? She asked me, with sparks of anger flashing in her eyes. I ducked my head down low so she wouldn't see the hurt flashing in my own eyes. Anger was building up within me. Why couldn't she just try to understand? Why did she have to buy all the crap that Sandra was feeding them? Would you rather I just kill myself and save everybody all the pain? I shouted back to her. My mom just shook her head at me. You need to find another way to communicate besides manipulation. I knew she had gotten that kind of language from Sandra, and I hated that. Everything was washing over me, all at once. The voices, the visions, the narrator, Fellingham, Para, the chorus, all the hospitals, all the lies and deceptions. My dad ripping my favorite blanket, seeing my parents cry, being teased by Michelle at school, feeling hopeless, feeling helpless, feeling abandoned, feeling misunderstood. All the physical and emotional pain was crashing over me in waves. It was all too much. I couldn't handle feeling that way. My mom didn't even understand. Without speaking, I walked over to the window and started to open it. My hands were shaking, and my heart was racing. What do you think you're doing? My mom asked. Saving you a lot of trouble, I told her, as I heaved the window open. What do you expect me to do? Run to your rescue and save you from hurting or killing yourself again? I can't keep doing that. It's too much. I can't keep getting manipulated like this. I can't live like that. Go ahead. Jump out that window. Kill yourself. Go to hell. see what I care," my mom yelled at me. Then she stood there staring at me, as if she were challenging me. I felt like pieces of myself were getting torn off and crunched under her foot. I was too hurt to even cry. I started to slide myself out the window and stared down at the ground. It was a long drop. It would hurt, but it would make everything stop. I wouldn't have to feel all this anymore. And wouldn't that be better? And she jumped out the window, smashing her skull open on the pavement below. Crimson red blood pooled under her limp body. The narrator's voice was soothing in a strange way. I started to let go of the ledge, but then I looked back at my mom. She had an expression of mixed horror, fear, anger, and pain smeared across her face all at once. I wondered how she would really feel after I was dead. I wondered if she would care that she had egged me on to my suicide. I knew she would. All the anger and hurt inside me couldn't cover up that basic truth, that she would never be able to recover if I killed myself right then. I shook my head a little, trying to get the narrator's words to have less impact on me. "Come on in," my mom told me. I climbed back in. I couldn't hurt her like that, even though I was furious with her for what she had said and what she hadn't understood. My mom just nodded at me. She paused, looking like she was going to say something, but then she was silent and turned and left the room without apologizing. I don't think she ever apologized for that incident. But then again, I don't think either of us ever brought it up again in each other's presence. Some things are better left forgotten. And that is the end of chapter 16, Drinking Charcoal and the Window Incident. If any of you guys have any comments or questions or anything like that, I would love to hear them. Anything, anyone? Alright, well, I guess I'll end the video here. Stay tuned for the next chapter coming up in the next few weeks. And I will keep reading Was I Ever Normal? The book is coming out soon, but is not coming out as an audiobook. So if you keep wanting me to read it aloud, I will keep reading it aloud so you can keep hearing it as an audiobook on Livestream. I hope you enjoyed chapter 16, and I hope you'll enjoy further chapters as well. So I'll end this video right here. Don't forget to share, comment, and subscribe. Love all you guys so much. Bye, guys.